Janet, and today I am working on some more ephemera to add to my stash. And so what I have here is I've taken this old dictionary and the pages have yellowed, and so I have just ripped out a section of it, and I am going to start gluing these together. And so I'm going to make a mixture of some white glue here, just cheap white craft glue. This is Jot brand, but even like Elmer's would work. You can see that mine is getting a little clumpy there. That's fine for this process. And then I'm going to add water to it and mix it up with a brush and go at my pages. Now, this is a messy project, and my hands are already kind of inked up from another project, so I thought while I am messy and at it, I might as well go ahead and do this as well. So once again, in this series, we're not making anything that is a finished craft. This is to add to our stash and work with later. So I'm going to be gluing these pages together, and it could be any book. I would just steer clear of like romance novels or anything that might have some odd language in it. I know even with the dictionary I could come across a page that has something that might be a little suspect, but I'm going to add a little bit more water to that because it was so sticky. And I'm going to be working on my glass mat because it will release from the surface just fine. I'm not going to let it dry on the surface. But if you wanted to work on something like a baking Teflon sheet or, you know, a media mat, something like that, even a plastic cutting mat would work well. So, all right, I'm just gonna go into my pages. I grabbed these all from the A's, and because there's a border here, I'm gonna kind of overlap with my pages. So I'm just gonna put a layer. Whew, it's already sticking. It's just the water. It's not, that was on my desk for mixing, not necessarily from gluing. And I can see already that I put the pages down in the wrong order because I want my text to kind of all at least start out in the same direction. And so I'm going to move that over, and this one has some really nice chart on it. And once again, I'm going to overlap here at the top, just pasting the glue on, and I'm overlapping the negative areas just like that. And because of the size of my desktop here, I think that's all I'm going to get is just 4 sheets glued together. And as I run my hand over it, I can feel it being quite sticky. So now I'm going to take another sheet here, and I'm going to cross over the seams. So now I'm going to glue this way and just start laying these down. And I mean, if you want, you could even tear and go in different directions. And then you're going to get some interesting edging like that. So what I'm doing here is just basically, you know, building up a layer of papers. And And I'm using old or discolored paper, but I am not using paper that is really, really old because it would be too fragile for this process. So keep that in mind as you work. You're going to want pages that will work together and stick and be sturdy enough. All right, so that's this side, and my glue is just about spilling on my desktop. I'm going to flip this over and do the same on this side now. I don't want to use this large text, although I did use the one that had a big A on it. I really want, so something like this I would save for something else because I want text. I don't really want you reading what's here. I just want to build up layers. All right, so now I'm going in here, and this is now working on 3 layers of paper. And I'm laying over the seams again. And if they're not sticking down, lift it up and put some glue under there. Now I could do multiples of layering papers like this. I just have this small section that I ripped out here. And so just adding them in, trying to get different color. You can see by where they are in the book that they have darker and lighter colors. And these pages are fairly thin and light, almost like Bible paper. So building up layers, it's going to get thicker, but it's not going to be so thick that we're not going to want to craft with them. One more piece here. All right. All right, so now you can set this off to dry. You can hit it with a heat tool, however you want to work with your page. And you can see here, as I'm lifting this up, because it's so wet, the other side is starting to buckle and come apart. So I want to make sure I get this laid back down in place. I have a corner that popped up here. All right. You could even, because this is so wet and I've got water in it, you could even go over it with a tissue roll to lift off some of the wetness. But I'm going to go ahead and dry this and then come back and show you what the next process is. As I started to heat this to dry, I was picking it up off my surface because my glass mat is going to retain the moisture on the surface and add it back into my paper. And so I'm lifting this up and hitting it with a heat tool. But as I do that, you can see here that I have a lot of pieces that are lifting as well. Now this is still a little damp, but I can go back in with my glue mixture and fix up some of these areas. The other thing I can do is just go in here with a glue stick and work on getting some of these corners down. And if I were to cut this up, you can, you may need to go back in and definitely fix some lifting areas. So I'm just going to spend a little time doing this and working on getting it dry. And here you can see it's not even dry, so it will lift for me because it's still wet. And this is just one way to fix it. Of course, I could go in with glue, any kind of glue, and fix this up. I don't want to put real high quality glue on this because at this point it doesn't matter. It's not, you know, this was just wasted book that was probably going to get trashed, and so I'm using it to craft with. And you can see the areas I'm lifting actually still have moisture under them, so over time they may have dried for me well enough that I didn't have to go in and touch them up. But I wanted to make sure that you know that if you have lifting, you want to fix it. Now, even after we cut this down, we may still have some lifted pieces. So, yeah, this needs a little bit more dry time before I can go in and start cutting it apart. And that's my next step, is that, of course, you could craft with it just like this, use it just like this. One big large sheet, and maybe do collage on top of it, printing on top of it, stamping on top of it, you know, however you want to use it. But what I'm going to do is cut it down into smaller, more manageable pieces for me. Now I feel it has a lot of moisture still in it, so I'm going to have to set this off to the side to dry. All right, so I want to show you, I made a smaller version to show you what the next step is so I could get it to dry faster. And there may be a few damp places, and you can hear how crunchy this paper is. So the next step is, let's start by trying to cut a straight line. And then we're going to work from there with that. And so what I want to do is do artist trading cards. And so I'm just going to square off this side, and then we'll start measuring. So 2.5 by 3.5 is a nice size to work with. So I think that might be where we go with this. So let's do 2.5 here. 2.5. Right, and then you can see here as I cut, I've got pockets of lifting. So I'm going to go back in there with glue after I cut these down. And this, we may just save this little piece and turn it into like a bookmark or a belly band. But he's not big enough for our cards, but that's still a nice piece that we can use, and I can go in and work with some glue to fix up these areas. Okay, so back to our trading cards. 2.5, 3.5. So there's our nice size. Do I have big enough here? No. So let's turn this one into a square. 2.5, 2.5, 2.5 by 3. That's not bad. We could do 2.5 by 3. That could be something. While I'm at it, I'm just gonna square off this end of this long one and decide, do I want to leave it long or do I want to make shorter pieces? I think I'll leave it long, and then we can come back to it. All right, trying to figure out what is squared up here and what isn't. I think that side needs a little help. What did we do? 2.5. And I'm getting stuck in my trimmer over there. 2.5. Just a little sliver. And then we want to go 3.5. That piece and this one. Go back to 2.5 or 3. We'll go 3. Just cut the end off of it. All right. Get that paper out of the track. Put my trimmer away. And then we can come back into our pieces. So from that little guy, this is what I've ended up with, and some trash here. I do want to round the corners. I have to think about where my corner rounder is. And all right, I am not finding the one I want. Not sure what I've done with it, but this one might work. Let's see, little tiny corners. I do have a crocodile. I could grab that one. I think that's what I'm going to do, because I don't see. We like the small size. Let's see what the large size looks like on these. All right, so there's the large corners. I'm going to switch over to the small for this smaller one. And then I'm going to have to go back into these. This one didn't get in there well. I'm going to have to switch back over and glue some of these back together. I think I like the smaller size. All right, and this one, I'm just going to leave it as is. So now, to finish these off. Now, I typically would go in and ink the edges of these, and you can see I've got a lot of lifting that needs to get fixed. So I am going to go in kind of heavy-handed with my glue stick here. Let's see. I've got a strip there that I don't know that it's doing me any good, but I'll leave it in there for thickness. And so then I'm going to just put these aside. Now, when I go to use them, I probably ink the edges with some vintage photo. I'm not going to do it right now because I don't know how I'm going to use these yet. But, yeah, you can see that my glue wasn't holding well. And that's okay. I mean, I can definitely go in and fix. And next time my mixture probably won't have as much water. I'll back off on the water. And this one's coming all the way apart. And it's got a crunchiness. Now, I hated these with the heat tool and kind of force the process. So that also might be part of the problem with these. But I do want to get them to dry, and the crinkliness of the paper may also come from drying. I don't know. So I'm doing a mixture here of glue stick and white glue because I had some little areas that needed some help. And with the crinkliness of these, I might even go into them and put them between a book page to get them to flatten out, unless you like, maybe you like the look of the crinkly. I don't know. These are for you to work with, and how will you create? Now, I know some of this lifting is happening because the moisture is still in between those pages. I can feel it. And I apologize for that because I'm trying to work fast to show you the process. But you can take your time because I'm on video. I don't want to waste too much of your time with the process, but you can take your time in putting yours together and sitting down, especially when you feel like doing something mindless, but you don't really know what you want to create. These are kind of fun, and you'll feel satisfied that you've, finished something. You have made something that you can use in your crafting. I mean, this isn't the end-all be-all for these. These are, works in process, and just because they're lifting on me right now and I'm gluing them back together, that's fine. When I go to use them, I can even, work more on gluing them back together if I need to. So here I've got multiple layers coming apart, and once again, I can feel the moisture in this one for sure. So I think that's what I'm seeing here, but I'm just going to play it safe and put the glue in there. And I have switched out from my glue stick just because I have my wet glue in my hand, and it does, see, it will go, like this glue bottle will get into these little teeny areas that are lifting. And so that's why I was using it, was to get in areas that I needed to get a little teeny bit of glue into. So have I glued this one? Now my larger piece, I'm going to let that dry completely. And here you can see I'm squeezing the glue out of it. All right, and once again, this one is still very moist. So yeah, artist trading cards. They could become pockets, tuck-in spots, belly bands, just surfaces for you to craft on, fronts of cards. Let me know in the comments how you would use them and if you'll be making these. And I really like the idea of using up your old book pages for something like this. And that is going to just turn out to be something really nice to use. Look at these. We have some trading cards. We've got some smaller ones. And then, of course, I have this long piece here that I don't know what I will use it for, but I still need to glue. But there, from that small piece, those book pages that were just going to get thrown away, I now have these interesting surfaces to work on. And I've turned them into a little bit thicker of a piece of paper. And so, yeah, we'll be stashing these and using them in a future craft project. I went ahead and waited a day for my large sheet of glued book pages to dry, and then I went ahead and cut them down. So out of the large sheet and the small demo sheet that I had the other day, I have got 2 large strips that can be used for something. I've got a couple of rectangles that I don't know what I'm going to use them for, so I'm not rounding the corners or cutting them down. And then I have a number of art journal cards that I have rounded the corners, and then I have 2 smaller that are almost square-like pieces. So I have gone through with my wet glue and fixed anything that was lifting, and now these are ready to go into pocket storage so that I can use them for crafting in the future. But here is something that I was going to throw out that was trash, and I turned them into usable pages, and I love the color of them, and I also love the layering and the direction of the different pieces of paper, and the wrinkling is perfectly fine for me. And the other thing that I'm wondering if it's because I used the water glue to begin with, but I don't know if you can hear, they have this wonderful kind of crunchiness to them that I don't know, that the original pages seemed softer to me than what I have here in my stack of little cards. But anyway, I really like the vintage look of them. I like the feel of them. I like the sound, and I think they're going to be very useful to craft on in the future. So hopefully you like this tutorial, and that you may have some books that are going towards the bin, or maybe you can pick some up at a charity shop. Even old school books, and this one I haven't fixed because I don't know what I'm gonna do with it yet. But yeah, this is a nice way, and they don't have to be the yellowed pages. This is just what I had. If you don't have a yellowed page book, but you have an old book, go ahead and use them, and then you can color them later. You can of course tea stain them or coffee dye them. Lots of different options to work with and to make usable pieces out of stuff that you were going to dispose of.